Okay, today I wanted to help you get ready for your final exam, and I picked some of my favorite problems off the final exam review to help you with. The main thing I want you to see is the answer choices are very similar. Look at question 1. You have a negative 20 and a positive 20. So please don't go so fast that you miss a sign, which in turn would make you miss the whole problem if you picked the wrong one. Okay, so looking at this top one, you have negative 10 minus 14, and then you have a negative and a negative 4. Well, we know that two negatives make a positive. So that would give me negative 10 minus 14 plus 4. Okay, now at this point we can group it some way, however you want. I'm just going to do mine in order. When I put these two together, they have the same sign, so I add and I keep the sign. Now, when I put these last two together, they have different signs. So different signs tell you to subtract and take the sign of the larger. So my answer should be negative 20. Okay, the second one is fractions, and when you subtract fractions, you need a common denominator. So this common denominator could be 24, but the smaller number is 12, so you could use 12 or 24. I'm going to turn them both into 12s. So 6 times 2 would give me 12 on the bottom. If I multiply by 2 on the bottom, I have to multiply by 2 on the top. 4 times 3 would give me 12. If I multiply by 3 on the bottom, I have to multiply by 3 on the top. So I get 10 twelfths minus 3 twelfths. Now the good thing is that I have a common denominator. It's twelfths. That's how it would look. I can just simplify across the top. So when I simplify across the top, I have 10 minus 3. Well, 10 minus 3 would give me 7, and my answer should be 7 twelfths. So remember your sign rules. If they're the same sign, you add and keep the sign, and if they're different signs, you subtract and take the sign of the larger. All right, we have one more fraction one. That's a negative 3/4 minus 5/8. You can use 32 and then reduce if you wanted to use that as your common denominator. The easiest one, though, to use is 8. So let's turn them both into 8s. I'll multiply this one by 2. If I multiply by 2 on the bottom, I multiply by 2 on the top. So I get negative 6/8 minus 5/8. And I know that's going to equal 8ths. Now I get ready to simplify across the top, and I have a negative 6 minus 5. Well, those have the same sign, so the same sign tells me to add and keep the sign. So I get negative 11/8. Well, look over here and make sure you choose the one that's negative. Negative 11/8 would be right there. Okay, so those are your rules for adding and subtracting. And the next one that you have is multiplying. So you have negative 3, negative 6, and 3. Now let's just look at signs for a minute. When I multiply these two together, just these two, they're two negatives. Multiplying two negatives would make a positive 18. Now, just stopping right here, I know my answer is going to be positive. So this answer is incorrect and this answer is incorrect. So once we get there, I know I can multiply 18 times 3. And my answer should be 54. Positive 54. Let me look at my sheet really fast. All right, let's go ahead and knock these fractions out, and then we'll close the slide. Right, so let's look at question 5 for just a second. This again is from the final exam review sheet. You have negative 14/15 times 3/7. Okay, let's just look at signs for a minute. A negative times a positive is going to equal a negative result. So even if I don't know how to work it, I have a 50-50 shot at choosing the correct answer from the multiple choice lineup. Please, please, please watch your signs. Alright, now you can multiply across the top and then reduce, but it's a little bit easier to go ahead and reduce now. I know 14 and 7 will reduce by 7. 7 goes into 7 one time, and 7 goes into 14 two times. You'll say, well, what about the sign? So I've already taken care of the sign because I put it in my answer, but if you wanted to write that as a -2, you could. Then you have 3 and 15. So 3 goes into 3 one time, and 3 goes into 15 5 times. So if you multiply what's left on the top, you're going to get a 2. And if you multiply what's left on the bottom, you're going to get a 5. And you already know it's negative, so -2/5 is your answer. Okay, looking at question 6, you have a -3/4 divided by 8/11. Now let's look at signs. A negative divided by a positive would equal a negative result. Okay? So I at least can narrow it down that far. Now remember, dividing fractions, you say keep, change, flip. So we're going to keep, change to multiply, flip. Now I don't see anything in the top that would simplify with anything in the bottom. So 3 times 11 would be 33. It's going to be a negative result. And 4 times 8 is going to be 32. -33 32s. And that's how it would look. For more review problems, you should see a separate video.